Hi there, welcome to lesson 3. This lesson chapter is on moral standing and the basis of moral standing, and we're going to get into debates about things like abortion, death, stem cells. This first little video is just going to talk about what moral standing is. I found this meme on the internet that seems to say that moral standing is a matter of whether you're a good or a bad person. Wickedness would be a kind of moral standing. I can see that makes some sense, but that's not what it means. So get that out of your head. Moral standing is more neutral than whether you're a good or a bad person. It's whether you are valuable in yourself, valuable, what we would say in philosophy, intrinsically. So here's my definition. So if you have moral standing, then your continued existence or welfare is valuable in itself. You're valuable for what you are, not for what you do, not for what you give to somebody else. So your interests and your well-being must be weighed when deciding what is permissible to do. So that principle there in brackets is very relevant. Don't do unjustified harm. Well, that would only apply to things that you can harm, and not taking somebody's existence or welfare into consideration and harming it or affecting it in some way without any consent would be a matter of harming it. There's a couple other reasons why people might act for things that are not ethical. They're not particularly bad or good, they're just not ethical. Whereas when you act to protect somebody's intrinsic value, you are acting ethically. At least that's what I would say. In casual conversation, we might refer to the topic of moral standing as being a person. And again, you can kind of see that if you're a person doesn't mean you're bad or good. You could be either. Okay, it's a further sort of question to ask about that. Okay, so one question we might ask here is, could there be non-human persons? Or do non-humans have intrinsic value? And I put a couple examples down here for you to think about, starting off with just a human. Seems to be the paradigm case. We'll get to that in the next video. A child, again, we would think that children have intrinsic value. They have moral standing. Animals, well, animals seem to have some intrinsic value, some moral standing. It seems things that you could do to them that are just wrong because of what they are and not because they wronged somebody else. AI, that's an interesting case. Possibly, depending on the level of development the AI has. The environment, there are many people that think there's things that we could do to the environment that just would be wrong, just because of what they do and not because of harming anything out there. So this is probably one of the big questions to think about in this chapter. Some have argued that we have, or doctors have, moral duties beyond duties to human beings, to stem cells, to test tube babies, to human gametes, to embryos, to newly dead humans. That there's certain ways of treating a corpse that would be wrong. So thinking, why is this relevant? We're thinking about organ donation and taking organs from somebody who's dead. Would there be correct ways to do that, morally correct ways, beyond just simply technically correct ways? Would there be morally wrong ways to do that? Okay, which raises the question, do these things have intrinsic value? Okay, or are they just the opposite of intrinsic value is instrumental value? They're just some things that we could use, but they're not things that have value in themselves. So are there non-human persons? That's our question. On the flip side, some people have claimed that some humans do not have moral standing. For example, fetuses, it says can, that should be can't. They can't have intrinsic value if we think that abortion for any reason at any time of pregnancy is morally acceptable. So that would be a good example of their interests, their continued existence or welfare is not valuable in itself. We don't have to think about that. We just have to consider whether the mother wants to keep the baby or not. That's certainly a controversial issue. I realize that, and sorry to bring that up if that offends you, but that's certainly one issue that we need to talk about. So this question is, are there human non-persons? Okay. Um, so as a kind of a summary here, critical questions that arise now: who has moral standing? Who is a person? Related to that, are some humans not persons? And then the one that we'll get to in the next video is, how do I justify drawing a line between persons and non-persons? What is the basis of moral standing? So this is some of the information that starts getting discussed at the very beginning of the chapter before we get into some of the terminology. So we'll pick that up in the next video.